Welcome back to Linux Weekly Daily Wednesdays, bringing you a midweek recap of all the Linuxy goodness taking place on our little blue ball. I'm Vince Stone.
I am Pedro Mateos.
And I am Matthew Commando.
Hey, you have to excuse him. He's only been up for about 30 minutes. But he is joining us all the way from California. Pedro is over in Portugal. And I'm kind of stuck in the middle with you here on the East Coast in the Athens. But gentlemen, let's just get right into it because I think our big story this week has to do with clouds.
Yes,
lots of clouds. Multiple clouds, actually. We're going to talk about Nextcloud, which has been forked from ownCloud. So one of the ownCloud founders, Frank Karliszczyk, I hope I got that right, left ownCloud, and a few weeks later he created a fork of the project. And meanwhile, a bunch of the other developers who worked in ownCloud left as well, and some of them have been integrated into Nextcloud. So the ownCloud, the company, weren't super happy about this. And their bank in the US hasn't been either, so they canceled the credits. So they have a part of ownCloud that is shutting down. The main division, which is in Germany, hasn't been touched, so this continues to go on. And okay, this is ownCloud. I've never been a huge fan of it. I've used it a couple times. It's quite good. Heard the new versions were a little bit better, but when I tried it, it felt a little bit clunky. Yeah, I mean, it was sold to me as a Dropbox alternative, but it really isn't.
I mean, it
will be interesting. Interesting to see the future of Nextcloud.
Well, I mean, Nextcloud is kind of the continuation because there was the humbug, and when Frank left the company, I think that's why a lot of the investors, the creditors over on this side of the pond, they were like, maybe, hear me out, Pedro, maybe it's not a good thing when the founder of the company is like, you know what, I'm going to start another company doing the same thing without the political high school crap going on.
I don't know exactly what those political differences were, but there was definitely a big old... What?
Yeah, it was about the community mainly. So some things about GitHub and the community overall that made them fork this project, which seems a little bit weird. And ownCloud said in their announcement that they were trying to fix these community issues.
Well, of course they're going to say that. They're trying to save their asses because in the very last paragraph of their announcement over on the ownCloud website, don't worry, there'll be links for all of this in the show notes. They say that our main lenders in the US have canceled our credit. Follow American law, we are forced to close the doors of ownCloud Inc., with immediate effect to terminate the contracts of 8 employees. The ownCloud GmbH is not directly affected by this, and the growth of the ownCloud Foundation will remain a key priority. So yeah, they're very clearly still trying to do something, so they have to try and minimize the PR damage done by this as much as they possibly can. Otherwise, they'll be boned.
Yeah, it seems legit, but let's get off that cloud and talk about cloud storage. Is that what this is, Strider?
Yeah, cloud storage. So it's from Core OS, which is a Linux distribution that is aimed at containers. So it's a very minimal distro you put on your server, and then on top of this distribution you put your Docker containers. So it's a neat thing. So this project in particular is about creating a distributed storage system for these containers because, as you may know, Docker containers don't have storage. As soon as you restart the container, it's all the data you put in it just disappears. So that's one problem. And the containers themselves, they're often distributed across multiple hardware servers. So they needed some kind of technology to provide them with storage and to be distributed, which this do, and it looks cool. I mean, I haven't worked on projects that were big enough to use this kind of technology.
Well, one thing I want to ask you about, I mean, because we were reading into this before the show, because we kind of thought, one of us, or Pedro or myself, were going to have to do the story. And I had not read your notes fully on that. And I was reading through this, and I was like, why? Then I read your note. Your bit here is containers need persistent storage. And you said, you feel like they've created a problem themselves.
It's not all containers that do that. I'm very old school when it comes to containers. Mm-hmm. If you can't say that something that is 3 years old could be old school, but I've always used LXC instead of Docker because LXC doesn't have that problem. In LXC, it's just like a VM. If you want to store things in your container, you can. If you restart your container, if you move your container, it's not going to erase any of your data. So this is why I've stuck with LXC instead of these things. So I wouldn't need this Taurus container. Taurus. Anyway, that's still some neat stuff. Not everyone will need it because it's really targeted at people who have like millions of users and petabytes of data on their server. I mean, if you require less, then you probably don't need it.
Okay. I admittedly only sort of skimmed through this announcement when it showed up in the show notes, and I was reading through it, and okay, so they're actually providing the example of having PostgreSQL running on top of Flex volumes backed by the Taurus storage container. And in that way, I was sort of like, oh, okay, so it's providing a bit of a sandbox to the database itself, which is an extra added layer of security, assuming they do it right. So I can see its usefulness in that respect. I hadn't actually considered the other ones, but yeah, okay. That sounds good. All right, so let's keep on going. And up next, I figured since we have a show to talk about random Linuxy news all throughout the week, we might as well talk about some new distros, or at least new versions of distros getting released. This is Linux Lite 3.0. It's their brand new version of the...
I'm sorry. If you're playing the home game or watching the video... the first screenshot is a picture of a desktop with a poorly shaped feather because get it light. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they really like that feather for some reason. I don't know why. But yeah, the Linux Lite OS has been always based on the latest Ubuntu LTS. It runs XFCE, as you can see, because that menu there is very clearly Whisker. And I suppose the biggest difference from Ubuntu really is the aesthetic defaults and the software selection that comes pre-installed with the ISO. I mean, if they also target this, they market it as a lightweight distro aimed at people coming from Windows. So basically Linux Mint XFCE. Huh? Strider?
Okay, yeah. Should I say something about my feelings about Linux distro that provide just a custom theme and instead of existing app? Because that might get us some hate mail for next week.
Sure.
Okay. So first thing, okay, it's XFCE, not DOM, XFCE. Okay, I got this right. This is important, very. But no, you know what? I am not interested. It's basically useless in my opinion. Just provide a shell script and a tar.jz because I'm not interested into formatting one of my hard drive just to try out your desktop. Again, just like the one we talked about a couple of weeks ago.
I completely agree with you on that. What do you think? I mean, it's always good to see new things coming out like this. I'm definitely in complete favor of that. You have a perfectly valid point. But, I don't want to discourage anyone from trying something new. But what you're saying is
the project is good. Yeah.
Yeah. You're saying this isn't new enough or game-changing enough to warrant installing.
Yeah, a full OS installation. You just have to provide like a shell script. It will do everything needed to transform a regular Ubuntu into Linux Lite.
Okay. I get it. In a way, I get it. It's you want to spin your own ISOs, go ahead and do them, but at least provide an alternative way for people who already have a system running and they don't want to run your ISO to, say, like Strider said, give us a PPA, give us a bash script that sets everything up the way you have it, so we can test it. And if we like it enough, then yes, then we will use the ISO to install it. I mean, that's definitely do all the things.
A good thing. You look at like a project like Mate, because we don't call it Mate here.
We're not Spanish, technically.
So it says Pedro Mate. All right, brilliant.
Portuguese.
Okay. Line in the sand, man. With that project, you can try it on the Ubuntus, on the Fedoras, or anything like that. You don't need to go to the Mate store and buy a copy of Mate and erase your distro.
No, you have to buy an entire Mate computer.
Right.
But speaking of, entirely new distros or distros attempting to do something different but not completely, Matt Hartley, he wrote a bit of an article for datamation.com comparing Endless OS to Chrome OS. And I started reading this. It's like, okay, so Endless OS is very similar. If you were a Linux user a couple of years ago, you may remember there was a distribution called Jolly Cloud or Jolly OS. That was basically what this distribution is attempting to do. It's a GNOME-based distro. I think it's based on Ubuntu, although I'm not entirely sure about. Yes, it is. It is a custom version of Ubuntu GNOME. And they target it at the same kind of hardware, like netbooks and what have yous, that would run Chrome OS. So, I mean, it was a matter of time until Chrome OS and its proprietary nature started inspiring people to create Libre alternatives. And I can already hear you screaming, "But Pedro, isn't that what those Chromium OS spins are for?" Shut up. You shut up, because this is the only argument I could possibly make for having yet another Chrome OS-like Ubuntu-based operating system.
Oh, I got one.
I don't want you ruining any chances of this OS may have of not ending up in oblivion like Jolly OS. Who am I kidding? That's exactly where it will end, especially with Chrome OS getting the Android Play Store in the near future.
Well, I mean, all right, the one shred of hope a project like this has is Chrome OS is going to be getting Android apps, which is basically Google going, we're just going to make it work with Chrome browser. But you're dealing with a Chromebook. You're dealing with something with very limited storage, a horrible 4:3 aspect ratio because, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's 4:3, but it's not proper widescreen. But when
most of them are nowadays.
When I was reading this, and I kind of asked Pedro, I was kind of perusing through it, and I was like, this doesn't work with the Google Play Store. And he said, no, it doesn't, Vid. And I said, well, looks like you have a Cloud Linux of meh. Because, I mean, you're not going to be able to store everything you want locally. And, like, what are you going to have to roll your own clouds? Does this thing have any type of back-end service to it?
It's just your typical Linux distribution.
So
it's a GNOME distro, and I don't understand why this website compares Chrome OS with a GNOME-based distro, because those are very different things. If there were a comparison could be made, it would be with Limpus, which was Acer's distro and netbooks. It was released in 2008, so this should be like a modern spin of Limpus in some way. And I don't know, if you want to compare Chrome OS to something, compare it to Emacs, maybe. Because it's like one software that does everything. Here it's Chrome, the other side it's Emacs. Okay, fair enough. That's a better comparison.
We look forward to your Vim hate mail next week. But if we're going to compare something, Pedro,
let's compare the exact same CPU against itself. Oh, wait, the comments are gone. Okay. Oh, well. Well, this is Aikido Hirti. You may know him from the Solus project, which originally, a long, long time ago, like 3 years ago, was a Debian-based distribution, which was basically reliant on GNOME 2 with, again, a custom theme and certain different things, but Aiki has since joined the Solus project. And we've already talked about Solus OS a couple of different times, and with Solus 1.2, which is the... Has it been released? I don't think so. But it is an upcoming, very close to upcoming version of Solus 1.2, which is an entirely new distribution, it isn't actually based off of any pre-existing one, so I commend them for that. And he posted some benchmarks to test how Solus OS did on the same hardware when compared to Ubuntu 16.04 and Linux Mint 17.3. And the very first comment was from Michael Speth. He is also one of our regulars over on Linux Gamecast Weekly, which is that other show we do. And his comment said that, what is this, a benchmark of the Celeron M what have you's performance? And I was forced to agree, because this is about as useful a benchmark as getting repeatedly kicked in the groin by the same person and asked how much it hurt after each one. And I only actually put this in the notes because someone on Twitter, at the Linux Hippie, asked us to benchmark Solus OS 1.2 when it came out. And if I had a spare SSD, I would. But right now, I
don't know, man. I was reading through this, and like you said, I mean, it's a dual-core Celery, and it's like, they still make those. What you said, absolutely true. I mean, they definitely did roll your own distribution. Absolute kudos on that. That's something that would merit. I was like, okay, I'll at least put this in a VM and give it a go. Maybe. But, I mean, all this, it does show in the Phronix benchmarks. Take those with a grain of chainsaw. But, and I'm sure they were picked out. I mean, it is showing that it is faster than Ubuntu 16.04. And I'm like, why do you want to bench it against that? That's not fair. All right.
No, it should be fair. The thing is that it ran basically the same benchmark over and over, like the one from libxml. Mm-hmm. They say, okay, this works with 1 megabyte, and we'll also do 2 megabytes, 3 megabytes, 500K, 6, 7. Well, okay, you done 1, maybe 2. That's enough. You made your points. There's a bunch of other benchmarks missing.
Well, that's what I was getting to, is the choice selection of the benchmarks that were put in there.
Most of them are libxml2 in 50K increments.
That's right what I go to when I'm looking at a distribution. I was like, how fast is libxml? I mean, deal breaker right there. But really, all this benchmark tells people, I'm not being mean, I'm being genuinely honest with you here, is that if you have an outdated laptop and you need a Linux distro for it, Solus seems pretty fast with a libxml.
Yeah. I mean, this looks like a very interesting distribution. Maybe not because of the speed, because I'm not sure how reliable would these results be, but because of Budgie, which is the desktop they're developing, which looks very nice. This is something that is quite similar to Chrome OS.
Budgie is very much, it was definitely very much inspired by the Chrome desktop, as it were. Mm. I don't know, what does Google call it? I know it has a name, but I can't remember. Oh well. So, let's talk about Linux news. Strider. What's this about?
So that's a new website that got released. It looks nice. It's for like everyone who's getting into Linux to learn how to use like the command line, like to use all the tools, how the file system works, networking, and a whole bunch of stuff. Really, it's really complete. And
all right, I'm going to have to disagree with you, right? I've just went through this. I do not see a segment on homebrewing or trimming neckbeards. So.
Yeah, they don't cover that, but other than that, it's pretty complete. I mean, you have got kernel, booting devices, and you can. The nice thing is you can see the source code for all the lessons on GitHub, and if you want to fix things or like add stuff, you can send pull requests on their GitHub repo.
Yeah, at first glance, I didn't really think much of it, but the more I looked and the more I started clicking on stuff and actually reading, the more I liked it. Oh, you broke it.
Well, I'm kind of scared now because I asked out I told it to shut down Holt now. So.
But yeah, it's the quizzes aside, I didn't actually try the quizzes, but as a cheat sheet, not just for Linux noobs, but for your fledgling sysadmins, pretty good. It's a pretty good idea. The only thing it needs is a comprehensive index and a big old search box. Yeah, because it doesn't have any of those.
Yeah, the files are stored in Markdown. So I'm pretty sure that's the reason why they don't have this search engine feature.
The search is going to be learn how to use Google and make it search site.
Yeah, site colon introduce it. Yeah, all right. So let's take a teeny tiny break to thank everyone who's made this show possible.
Awesome people helping us out. Yeah. Helping not just this show, but Linux Gamecast Weekly, our big show. But this is a show by Patreons, for Patreons, and we're back. Check it out.
Ooh,
yeah,
137.
Jill and Steve kicked in. We had a new Patreon coming in. I'm going to mess up your name, sir. Please feel free to send me some hate mail and some hyphenated phononic spelling or something. Freya. Anyway,
it's
brilliant. Thanks for kicking in. If you're Patreon, you get some cool things. You're going to get access to a couple of things we play. Trying again. This is a horrible, nightmare-filled episode that was so traumatic it took us a week before Vin got around to posting it because he didn't want to relive it. Pedro's gorgeous face there. We do some Linux Weekly Daily Wednesdays. We also have game shows that we play. And if you like killing zombies, we do Left 4 Brad too. But on top of that, you're keeping us loud, alive, independent, and just want to thank everyone for making that possible. You can think about it, 5 cents, kick us a few shekels a show. It adds up. It makes a difference. It's going to let us do more things. Maybe like go to a Linux Fest. That would be a bit neat. But Pedro, do you think if you made a really horrible mistake a few years ago, if you just quit doing that, people would forgive you?
Shut up. Nope. Mm-hmm. Do not bring it up.
Gonna bring it up.
No, we're having... Oh, you're talking about SourceForge.
Yeah,
never mind.
Okay. Yeah, he who shall not be named, actually, we must name. New SourceForge owners, they killed the horrible DevShare, bloatware, spyware, exe stuff that no one wanted, and they insisted on keeping. So the DevShare thing's gone, and... Like, hey guys, come back.
Finally.
Here's the whole thing. This is way too late. I mean, that ship, proverbial ship has sailed. I mean, it is gone. And the frightening thing is, for me at least, is they do say that, well, we still want to figure out a way to help developers earn money through the site. And I was like, Pedro, you had a very... developers left on the site? What?
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, coming from the new management, and you take something that has a crummy reputation, as it were, and you make a solid first step to get rid of the crappy headware that was being installed in people's systems, or at least offered to be installed. But this won't change anyone's opinions. The people that did move away from SourceForge are now lodged somewhere else, and they're not about to break flow just to go back.
Think about it. In 2016, when you go to a project site and you click on it, it goes to SourceForge, you're like, oh, this must be abandoned.
Yeah, how long has it been since it was last updated? Mm-hmm. And the ones who didn't, those very few who didn't, well, chances are they don't give a damn, because I'm pretty sure they never made any significant money from DevShare, if any at all.
Strider?
Yeah.
I know that two things. I mean, they say in the announcements, we want to restore our reputation as a trusted home for open source software. Well, I mean,
Okay.
They should have done it when the platform was still relevant.
Hey, Strider, I want you to come to church with me on Sunday.
What?
Yes. I meant video.
No, but I don't understand why it took a team of new managers to tell that it was a terrible idea from the start.
Well, it's not. Well, I mean, it wasn't just managers, man. I mean, it's the new owners. They were like, they went open season on everyone there. And I'm sure the people that bought it was like, you people are being pants on heads retarded.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, the second thing is that they also plan to bring full HTTPS supports to SourceForge and /dot. But they say soon. I don't understand soon. I mean, it takes a day at most to migrate to full HTTPS.
Well, I mean, what you're saying is it takes 20 seconds and it takes 23 hours just to QA everything.
Yeah, but not anymore. I mean, even with a lot of slacking off, you can pull this in a day.
Mm-hmm.
So why hasn't this been done already? I mean, for a website like SourceForge, that's pretty important. For /dot, not so much, but yeah.
Okay, there are a lot of people who are going to disagree with you because SourceForge, after they pooped the bed, as it were, a lot of people left and no one gives a damn about SourceForge anymore.
A dang, Pedro, a dang.
A dang. What have you? But yeah, there are a lot of people who still go to /dot. And
it's not a matter of people who go or not. It's a matter that /dot is a content website. So if you read it in HTTP, that doesn't really matter.
That's true. I mean, content. /dot's great for reading everything that happened the week prior that you might have missed this week.
Yes, it's where all the Reddit rejects go. So I think we've angered enough people with this. Let's talk about VirtualBox. Yep, Softpedia broke the news a couple of days back, and they said that Oracle announced just a few minutes ago that the first beta build of the upcoming VirtualBox 5.1 virtualization software was available for testing for all supported platforms. And their biggest thing, that which Van is highlighting right there, is Oracle VM VirtualBox 5.1. The installer no longer requires or no longer relies on the dynamic kernel module support, DKMS for the rest of us, framework for rebuilding kernel modules. This is quite awesome. According to Softpedia, this is what they're saying, because it will make things a lot easier when updating the kernel packages on your distribution. That's up for debate, but we'll get right to it. So yeah, what they mention, these are the official release notes, and the 5.1 beta, it brings some GUI updates. They migrated to Qt5. They fixed several bugs, and the new VM setup wizard lets you pick where the new VM will be located instead of you actually setting it up and then having to move it later. The big thing, it's the DKMS, or the no longer having to rely on DKMS. Personally, I haven't had issues with the DKMS in several years. Coincidentally, since about the time I stopped using the proprietary AMD and Broadcom drivers for the calculator, both NVIDIA's and VirtualBox's own DKMS dealings have had no issues whatsoever on my end. So I don't really see the need to move away from it unless they're looking to dump the kernel module entirely, or they think they can do it better.
I don't know. I mean, most people's first thought when you're talking about DKMS is NVIDIA drivers. Because I was like, there's going to be these issues with kernels. And I was like, do you know how many kernels I have installed? Follow me on G+, when it's spring cleaning day, and I have like 19 kernels installed. And it's running through all that. But, Strider, answer me that. What are they going to replace it with? Hopes, dreams, tears?
I have no idea. That's one big mystery, how they will replace DKMS if they... And I've had issues with their kernel module. I mean, I had to restart the service when the VirtualBox got updated or the kernel would get updated. But they fixed that a couple of releases back. So, yeah, I have no idea what they will use instead of DKMS. That's a big mystery.
Yeah, and that really got me thinking. So are they just going to dump the kernel module entirely and run the virtualization purely at a software level? Or are they going to make their own version of DKMS, which I think at this point we can all assume it's probably going to suck.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yes.
let's talk a little bit of games. See, we couldn't get through a whole episode without bringing up games. I know, aren't we?
It's in our nature.
Update 28. Well, this kind of nopes some games that were on the index. If you don't know what the index in Deutschland, it's basically considered media harmful to young persons. I'm sure there's a Google Translate for this, but if we are ballparking it, let's see. Recently, many titles in Dutch Steam store were made unavailable. Games listed on the index were basically gone. So there's like 21 plus a few more. 28. I'm sorry, derp.
Yeah, 28, and all the bundles that included those games also got noped.
But something important to notice. I mean, if you already have them, you still get to keep them. So you can
because Valve
hold on to your dotsies. It'll be brilliant. But the big thing is, it's kind of hard to get your pitchforks out for this or your Wiener Schnitzel, because they shouldn't have been there in the first place. And trust me, anyone who knows anything VPN, bro, LWDW cares. Knows how to get there, or they get a non-region locked Steam key for that. Strider, do you have any thoughts on this, or are you just predisposed to fear those big German words?
He's surrendering already.
Now we have to use Google Translate to see what you're talking about on the show. But yeah, at first I was looking at this list. I didn't know what it was saying. It was all in Moon German. I was wondering, these games, they all work on Linux, either native or with Wine. So what's this? This is all about. But then I understood that these games got banned in Germany. I knew about Wolfenstein, which was banned from Germany from the start. But I don't know, games like Rune or Alien vs. Predator, I don't understand. What's up with this?
It's because of the lack of classification that Germany has. Australia had it too. If a game doesn't meet or the levels of violence or certain specific topics are covered in a game and they go above certain arbitrary specifications that they have, they are refused certification. And if a game is refused,
they're being you have PEGI, they're either being PEGI or ESRB Nazis, one could say.
Basically, yeah. And if a game is refused certification, then you can't sell it. Basically anywhere in the EU, but it's only been refused. These games have only been refused certification in Germany specifically. So you can't sell them there. And that's always been the issue with Germany, because, after everything that's happened with Germany, they're kind of trying to...
Let's try to tone it down. But ultimately, at the end of the day, anyone who, is in the area is just like laughing. They're like, this doesn't affect us at all.
Oh, right. We'll just go to Poland and buy the games.
In fact, Pedro, they might even stream them.
Yep, they might.
Restream. Yeah, I'm going to tell you about it, man. Check this out. It's the best way to stream to YouTube, Twitch, Ustream, Hitbox, and more than 30 other platforms simultaneously. And that's not an ad. That's just what it says on the top of their page, with full motion video behind it. Which bad idea, Brad. Bad idea. Don't do that. What you take from this is they're going to restream for you. So let's say we were doing our gaming show, or I guess this you don't necessarily have to use this for gaming. You can use it for anything.
Yeah, you could use it.
And you're going to put it into their ingestion server, and then they're going to relay that. I'm pretty sure they're not going to do it losslessly, because that would be very expensive to do that. But, I mean, it could get you on a lot of services with just one thing. But Strider, you were kind of like, maybe this goes against some terms of services.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't sure this respected the terms and conditions of all the services it was streaming to. I haven't looked into that more. I haven't created an account to find out. But Yeah, I'm wondering if this will stick around for very long.
I know. Don't worry. We will absolutely find out here on the show by letting one of you get your account banned by violating the terms of services and sending us some email. What do you think, Pedro?
Yeah, that sounds like the path of least resistance, to say the least.
I don't think the users themselves will get in trouble, but it's more restream the websites. They could get in trouble.
I know. I could actually see, places like Twitch and Ustream and stuff like that blocking, because I mean, it would take 2 seconds to block the service from.
Yeah.
It's coming from their server, right?
Exactly. Nope. But we can't almost finish a Linux Weekly Daily Wednesdays without poking Windows or poking Apple, and guess who's on the block this week?
Yeah, it's Windows 10. So someone has started a petition to have the EFF investigates what Microsoft is doing with Windows 10.
Ignorantly unethical at best.
Yeah, all the shady stuff Microsoft has been doing with their update system or forced.
Well, did you hear about it last week? Like right after our show, I think it was. There was that game park in the Africas that they had a satellite.
Oh yeah,
and it did like a 6 gigabyte download and completely wrecked their
because they had metered bandwidth paid by megabyte.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you were saying, Strider.
Yeah, I mean they've been forcing this Windows thing more and more over the past few months, and they've been more aggressive. Like they've been using like malware.
They're getting sneaky with
techniques.
it. There we go. If you just close it, it'll install.
Yeah, and they are still spying on users. I mean, somewhere like there's a Microsoft data analyst that sees a guy in California booting on Windows, playing Doom for an hour, and then shutting down Windows. Mm-hmm. Somewhere, I guess, they see that on their servers. Yeah, but I see people like complaining a lot. I see people like they're very angry at Microsoft for doing what they do. But I don't see a lot of people migrating from Windows to Linux. So does that mean that we don't have a good enough operating system?
No.
Yes, let's argue about which one is better. No, it's not so much whether or not Linux is good enough, because we've all dealt with Linux long enough to know that yes, it is, but it's not. It doesn't cater. It doesn't automate. It doesn't hold people's hands. Linux
doesn't appeal to mindless potatoes.
Precisely. Okay. That's what Mac OS X is for.
Mac caters to it with style, though. I mean, it's got the right underpinnings. Microsoft is just built on top jank, decade after jank and jank. I mean, there are programs that rely on bugs in the kernel. I mean, that
they literally do.
That's a genuine thing. I memean, when, what you were saying and what Strider was saying, Linux is dead simple to come over to, and it does not take... I started using, the Slackwares and the 95s before the Googles. Yes, please tell me again how difficult Linux is to use in 2016. Really?
Yeah.
It's been my primary desktop ever since. But to answer your question, Strider, I personally believe I don't want those people migrating, because you know what? You made your choice, heathens. Lie in your mighty bed of pain.
They made they say... A lot of people say, hey, I don't have a choice. I'm forced to use Windows. Well, no, you do have a choice. You might have to give up some habits. You have to relearn some stuff, maybe. You might have to change your hardware or even find another job. But you do have a choice. Because I believe Microsoft is within their rights to do any kind of shady stuff they want to do.
They are, and you're agreeing to it. Mm-hmm. If you've ever taken time, I know no one does, but I actually have. I'm one of those idiots, to read the Microsoft end user license agreement. The first time I read it, I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. They literally have permission to listen to everything you say if you happen to have a microphone plugged into the OS. You're granting them rights to literally take and remove or add anything to your hard drive while you're running the operating system. Anything you do with the operating system. Better yet, if you have Secure Boot enabled, they know exactly how many times a day you turn on your PC, how many times you reboot your PC. It's insane. They know everything you do with your PC, and there's a big focus on
So you're basically saying that it's the Steam client on Linux?
Although the Steam client doesn't have as many permissions as Windows does.
I mean, if we're just being fair, Ben.
Yeah.
So that's going to do it for that. Pedro, tell the beautiful people how they can get in touch with us.
Yeah, you can always get in touch with us the usual ways. If you see the video coming up on YouTube, even if it's just a teeny tiny little bit of segment, which shouldn't happen this week, you'll get, you can leave us a comment there. If you see the posts on YouTube, YouTube, Facebook, Google+, Twitter, what have yous, you can leave us a comment there. We'll read it. Or you can always go to linuxgamecast.com, fill out the contact form, pick out whether you want to send some feedback for LWDW or hate mail for LGC Weekly, and we'll be happy to get right back at you. Yeah, and apparently some people actually had some things to say about last week.
K-Swiss is talking about price, man. More specifically, dollary dues. He says, well, the Intel 9560X price in Space Australia is $1,500. The 6950X is $2,575. What in the world are they thinking? LOL, period. Only fools will buy this crap. Well, they have to package the processor upside down. And
yeah, they have to flip all the bits. All the pins have to be put in upside down. There's a lot of cost involved.
You know, when you're looking at that premium, you're looking like $1,000 premium. That is right in the ballpark of like, hey, maybe I'm going to pop over to the States and like spend a weekend doing something and buy a processor and fly back for the same price.
Gonna go on vacation, get myself a new processor while I'm there, and then come back. And I'll probably save some money doing it. Nice job, Intel.
Strider, are you saving up for it?
No, I'm pretty good with my i7 already.
Yeah. You're one of those Team Blues.
Mm-hmm. Well, from expensive chips to cheap ones.
Yeah, cheap ones. Although maybe not as cheap as they'd like us to believe. So, Saracen26 had to say, I'm sensing this will be good for the Commodore 64 and the Spectrum emulators, as well as some solid homebrew goodness. If they get to sell it over here in the UK, and put that clinky large Raspberry Pi, which seems to be ever getting more and more expensive, to shame, I can have some rather unique applications for this little thing.
No, this is
That's
the
a good
chip
idea.
Computer with the mod we were talking about. Basically, the case system.
It's the supposedly $9 system on a chip that they were Kickstarter. I can't remember if it was Kickstarter or Indiegogo, but it was one of those. And it's not ever going to cost $9, but they did have that $49 add-on, which had a 128 by 128 LCD screen and a little keyboard. And it was actually one of the points I made because Strider was like, "Oh, you put a case on it and it looked better." No, that looks very hacker friendly, and that's exactly what Saracen was saying. It's like, yeah, give it to people who actually want to tinker and make new stuff for it. That's good.
I mean, ultimately, that case is perfect for giving to people that are about to get on a flight going through the TSA that you don't like. That's a perfect use case for that. No, if it does, and supposedly these things are shipping, so we will see. You know, I'd love to be corrected on, and I didn't say it personally. It's just I've heard other people say it that I was like, hey, I kind of think that person knows what they're talking about, and I trust them. But if they make good on that, you know, you can spend 60 quid an interesting little piece of kit like that. I might pick one up, Strider.
Yeah, I might to play with. I'm not sure it will be powerful enough to run emulators. Because it's still a very limited display on the portable chip. But other than that, it seems to be a very interesting product. And Mir in chat room has one. You've played with it, and yeah, it works. It's pretty cool.
Sweet. Well, this will be no controversy about this. System
sure
D. System D developers need to, well, this comes from Narlin, need to step the F back. They may be good programmers, but their quote-unquote our way or the highway attitude stinks. I think we're all going to get the D whether or not we want it, but I agree with you. I mean, rage against the dying of the light, right?
Yeah, because it's what I keep saying. System D is turning into svchost.exe. It's taking everything that runs on like the lower levels of the OS. It's taking over everything. And that's a bad idea because it's one point of failure for your entire operating system. We're not running Windows. That's a bad idea. Linux was sort of founded on the whole Unix principle. Do one thing and do it well. At least most of the software was anyway. And System D, so what I said last week, you could basically run an entire operating system inside your operating system inside System D.
Yeah, so you could use System D to open Emacs, and there you have it. From OS.
All right, I think that's going to do it. It was a good show. Had fun, guys. I want to thank everyone in chat room for showing up, joining in live. I know a lot of people at work. This is a very inopportune time, basically, for all of America's to tune in, but it's a time that we can get the show done and get it out the same day. Good times. We'll see you next week. I've been Vince Stone.
I have been Pedro Mateos.
And I'm Mathieu Commandant.
See you next week.
Close it. Bye.